If you remember from when we were solving, if the quadratic equation is in the difference of squares form, has no bx term, that means that we can solve it by taking the square root. So the first thing that we're going to have to do is get the x squared by itself, and then we're going to have to take the square root of both sides. It's important to remember that square roots always have two numbers. Remember, we use that plus or minus in order to get both of those answers. Here, we're going to have to get the x squared by itself. So you can see that the opposite of minus 49 is plus 49. We'll do that to both sides, and we'll end up with x squared equals positive 49. Then we will take the square root of both sides. The square root of x squared is x, and the square root of 49 is plus or minus 7. So sometimes you'll see it written as, x equals 7 and x equals negative 7. Sometimes you might see that plus or minus sign, so it's important that you're going to recognize both of those for your final answer. Also, you could see ordered pairs that say 7, 0 and negative 7, 0. There's multiple ways to write your answer. All of these mean the same thing, and all of them are correct. Again, if you were to graph this, and you were to say here in the graph, x squared minus 49, you could see that these are the two solutions. This is not anything different. These roots, the solutions, they still mean the same thing. This one over here is positive 7, and then over here we have negative 7. Okay, so next one, you look, you can see the x squared is not isolated. So what we will need to do is we'll need to divide both sides by 3. Okay, excuse me, I don't know why I said 3, by 6, so we can get x squared by itself. Okay, 6x squared divided by 6 is 1x squared. Then 54 divided by 6 is going to give us 9. Okay, so after we do that, we'll take the square root of both sides. The square root of x squared is 1x. The square root of 9 is 3. Remember, it can be positive 3 and also negative 3. So you might see this plus or minus. You might see x equals positive 3, x equals negative 3. And then you could also see ordered pairs. So any way you could possibly see your answer, just remember that all of those mean the same thing. Okay. Up here, you can see we have one more example. The first thing that we would need to do is add 15 to both sides. And that would give us 5x squared equals 60. Then we would need to go ahead and divide both sides by 5. Right? 60 divided by 5 is 12. So we get x equals the square root of 12. Okay, now 12 is not a perfect square, remember? So when we take the square root, we're going to have to go to our calculator, okay? And we're going to have to say, okay, well, what is the square root of 12? And we can see here it's not an even number, it's 3.46. So we can go ahead and round that, but remember, it's still going to be positive and negative when we go ahead and put that. Now you might see that as your answer. You also could see simplified fractions. So for example, we might see that this is written the square root of 12. This is equivalent to 2 square roots of 3. Okay, so you might see answer choices that look like that. If your answer choices look like that, what you're going to want to do is go to your calculator and go ahead and type in the same thing that you see until you see a decimal that matches the same decimal that you have. Okay, so just go through your answer choices until you find the one that matches.